But I need you to understand something. I get this a lot. And I say this with absolute love and respect. So, excuse me, please don't take this the wrong way. Gerald, voter turnout in midterm elections, in other words, people who could vote and just don't, on the Republican side, is like 50, 55%. So I don't say this to challenge you because you show up. I can hear in your voice like you're a guy who actually votes. You're like, well, I didn't do anything. No, you didn't. But the hard reality is when people say to me, oh, we keep voting and nothing's happening, the truth is we aren't voting. You're voting. The Democrats show up. They just do. They go to college campuses. They get these kids to vote. So my answer to you is a hard one because it doesn't involve you. You are doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's not a lecture. It's just the truth. But when you say like, hey, we're doing everything. No, you're doing everything we should be doing. But other people aren't. And that's the only purpose to my job here. This isn't a job. I talk for a living. I don't do real work. Farmers, rail workers, electricians, you guys do real work. I don't do real work. My job here is to even switch the vote by 1%, get 2% more people to show up. We wouldn't lose the national election again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%, and maybe flip another 0.5% from them to Republican. But that's the hard reality, sir, is that we aren't really voted. Half of us are sitting home. I wish it weren't true, but it is. Folks, don't miss my podcast today, rumble.com/Bongino, especially the beginning. Important message for people from the South. We love you. Be back tomorrow.
I have a great whiskey suggestion. Stolock Whiskey. Created using natural limestone filtered water from the Ozark Highlands, aged in Missouri oak. Next time, get a bottle. But if you're going to share with friends, you better get at least 2 bottles. Stolock has the Larry Connors seal of approval. See the full story at stolock.com. Stolock, Stowloch, from Stone Ledge Distillery.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Seavers JCB has the JCB AG loader you need for maximum efficiency and versatility around the farm. JCB's TM series of articulated telescopic loaders are powerful, rugged, and engineered to deliver maximum productivity in all of your material handling applications. Take advantage of special year-end financing offers and tax breaks that may entitle you to additional savings. Stop in to Seavers Equipment and check out their full line of industry-leading JCB agriculture equipment or contact them at seaversjcb.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
The numbers and the percentages of college freshmen and sophomores who now identify as something other than what they actually are is staggering because we have been promoting it. We have been instigating this dysphoria. We have been instigating this evil. Most of that has come from 2 places, education and popular.
Yeah, this is all spiritual warfare that's going on.
Weekday mornings, 5:30 to 9 on News Talk STL. KLDY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. International attempts to mediate in the Israeli-Hamas conflict continue, which calls for a durable ceasefire and a longer-term solution.
International pressure is building not only for the current truce to be extended, but for new momentum to be injected into trying to find a way to resolve the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. The EU's head of diplomacy, Josep Borrell, has said that a Palestinian state in the West Bank, Jerusalem and Gaza would be the best guarantee for Israel's security and peace. There's been a growing chorus of such calls in recent weeks, but little detail on how the many obstacles that have long prevented any real progress on a 2-state solution could be surmounted.
BBC correspondent Sebastian Usher reporting. A forced swap of hostages for prisoners under the deal was expected later today. So far, Hamas has released 58 hostages, including 39 Israelis. during the current truce, while Israel has released 117 Palestinian prisoners. Also at townhall.com, Senate Majority Leader Charles Schumer says he'll bring a Ukraine aid bill up for a vote on the Senate floor by December 4th. Bob Agnew reports.
Schumer writes in a letter to colleagues that one of the most important jobs facing lawmakers is passing a funding bill that will, quote, ensure we as well as our friends and partners in Ukraine, Israel, and the Indo-Pacific region have the necessary military capabilities to confront and deter our adversaries. He's also setting the stage for a fierce battle with Republicans by refusing to include funding for U.S. border security. And although the bill includes aid for Israel, it also provides more money for humanitarian aid to Palestinians in Gaza, assistance some critics say will go directly into the hands of Hamas terrorists. Bob Agnew reporting.
The Dow is down 65 points, but the NASDAQ is up 6 points. More at townhall.com.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-858-1199. That's 800-858-1199.
Stop overpaying for wireless. There is a better way. Pure Talk saves the average family about $1,000 a year on the most dependable 5G network in the U.S. You can get unlimited talk, text, and plenty of high-speed data for just $30 a month. If you're ready to cut your wireless bill in half, dial pound 250 and say keyword spend less, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, dial pound 250 and say spend less, and make the switch to...
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a chilly day out there after cold temperatures this morning. The high today only in the low 40s, but lots of sunshine. It's a beautiful day. It's a little breezy, too, so the wind chills stay in the 20s and 30s all day. Tuesday morning, we'll be in the mid-20s again, lower 20s in some of the colder spots with a high near 40 with plenty of sunshine. Looks like some rain Thursday and Friday this week. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com. Tony Colombo.
Libertarianism is all about individual liberty.
Katie Fitzpatrick.
Oh, good for you.
Colombo and Katie on News Talk STL.
Time to rise has been engaged with better best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song, the finest hour, the finest hour.
Hello, and welcome to Colombo and Katie on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Hope everybody had a great holiday weekend. Ken Earhart just said low 20s in some areas for the low tonight, tomorrow morning.
That's chilly.
Yeah. Thanksgiving is over. Winter is here. Christmas season is here. And, yeah, hope everybody had a good few days off, hopefully. And now we're all back at it.
We're here.
How was your
We're here.
How was your weekend?
It was great. I love Thanksgiving food. I don't think that there is any holiday food that tops Thanksgiving food for me. I'm a turkey girl all the way. And everyone makes such amazing sides. There's nothing that beats Thanksgiving food for me. And the leftover situation, too, is impeccable. So love that. But Maeve got sick. And I don't know if it's just because she's out of her routine or if she contracted something probably from being in daycare and then it just came upon us. But she got sick like halfway through. And so one of the Thanksgivings we had to
Halfway
kind
through
of
the weekend or halfway through Thursday?
halfway through the weekend.
Gotcha.
So she was great Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday she just got a little cold or something. Now it's developed into something else, and gee whiz, what they're having a sick baby, man.
It's no fun.
It's something different. But I had a really, really great time off. Did you have a good time?
There's junk going on everywhere.
Everywhere you turn.
I was super sick a month ago or whatever it was. I still have a little bit of a lingering cough and like just lingering symptoms. It's
you can't dodge it.
No, you can't dodge it. Yeah, we had a great time. We had our TJ's Pizza on Thursday night, and then we had our big family meal on Friday, and I can't agree more. I love Thanksgiving dinner.
I do too.
But you know what? All I need is turkey, potatoes, and corn.
I love all that.
I don't need anything else.
That's as far as you want to
There's
go.
one of
There
those
she
symptoms.
comes. There she goes.
Easy.
I
Just load it up.
see. I'm a sides gal. I love all of the sides.
Yeah?
So my Thanksgiving plate is humongous, and I have like a dabble of just about everything. Just about. But that, like, I've always been a sides person. So that's why I also love Thanksgiving. Everybody just brings like a ton of sides.
And you just go to town.
I just go to town.
Totally agree. All right, well, we are back, and we've got a lot to catch up on, a lot to talk about as we go through this chilly Monday afternoon. In just about an hour from now, a little after 3 o'clock, we're going to talk to Chad Wolf. He's the former DHS secretary under President Donald Trump. What a great person to talk to right now with everything happening, obviously at the southern border, but also after last week's attack or whatever it was. There's been, the kind of a changing narrative on what happened at the northern border up there in Niagara Falls. So we'll talk to Chad Wolf, former DHS secretary under Donald Trump, about all of that and more. And just about, like I said, a little less than an hour from now, just after 3 o'clock. And, of course, Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire will join us at about 2:45, as she does every Monday afternoon. So very much looking forward to that. One of the big stories of the day, of course, is the latest development coming out of the Middle East and out of Israel. And that is that Israel and Hamas have agreed to extend their ceasefire agreement for 2 more days. Now, I'll give you the details here, and then you make the decision on whether this is a good thing, a bad thing, or, somewhere in the middle. The move this morning, and Hamas, okay, wait a minute. The move Monday morning, and Hamas officials confirmed it soon afterwards. Okay, sorry, that sentence is written weird. The move happened this morning, and Hamas officials confirmed it soon afterward. White House National Security spokesman John Kirby says the agreement will see Hamas release 20 women and children over the next 2 days. Hamas says the extension will follow the same terms as the previous exchange agreement, under which Hamas delivered at least 10 Israeli hostages for each day of the truce, and that the process is already underway. I think some of the 10 from today have already been released. So far, Hamas has released 58 hostages, 40 of them Israeli, while Israel has released roughly 150 Palestinian criminals. So, here, let me give the rest here, because there's just get it all out there, and then we'll get everybody's reaction. Meanwhile, Attorney General Merrick Garland expresses, quote, hope, just hope, no, nothing in writing, just hope, that Hamas will release more American hostages in coming days. He said this morning, quote, over the past several days, over 40 hostages who were kidnapped by Hamas on October 7th have been released. Among them was Abigail Idan, 4-year-old American. He continued, we welcome Abigail's return and hope to see the return of more hostages in the days to come. Well, why don't you put that in your deal that you're making with Hamas, that Americans get to come home too. So 2 more days. So apparently these are the rules that have been made. Apparently the rules of this situation, as they have come to be, is that whenever there's a ceasefire agreement, for every day of the ceasefire, Hamas releases 10 hostages. So they just extended it by 2 days this morning. So that means 20 hostages will be coming home. But the hostages are only Israeli hostages. That's the only label, the only caveat, the only descriptor in the agreement. That for every day of the ceasefire, Hamas releases 10 Israeli hostages. So far, to this point, Hamas has released 58 going into today, because there's more coming today and obviously tomorrow. So coming into today, Hamas had released 58 hostages total since October 7th, 40 of them Israeli, one of them American, only one, while Israel has released roughly 150 Palestinian criminals. So Hamas has released 58. They've gotten back 150. That's about 3 times, if my math is right. There's no part of this agreement that says that any American hostages have to come home.
Yeah.
And and so when you look at this, it's hard. It's hard to look at this from a neutral position and think that Hamas is not winning the day. That they're getting more hostages sent home. They're getting an extended ceasefire. And quite frankly, they are getting encouragement, motivation to capture more hostages because it's their number one bargaining chip and it's working. So that doesn't create a very safe environment.
I think it's really hard too because you also think that because they're allotting this ceasefire, it could be more time to re-strategize. And it could be more time to, to get a plan in place, to move around, to push people here, to regroup. So that's really hard because I do understand the prospect of wanting these hostages to come home. And when you listen to the stories of the families that have gotten their 8-year-old back home or their 9-year-old or their grandmother back home, it's such an emotional thing. You try to be empathetic. I couldn't even fathom what something like that would be like. So,
nor should you ever have to.
So it's just this situation of being like, we do want to get these hostages home, but at what cost? And when you're negotiating with terrorists in any way, shape, or form, United States negotiating with terrorists, Israel negotiating with terrorists, it always seems like they're winning. I will say, though, that it seems like we're blowing up the directors and leadership of Hamas every single day. So there is a positive. People are getting blown to smithereens by the IDF every single day.
Yeah.
But you're right in saying that
you said we. It's not we. It's
correct.
It's Israel.
So Israel. Well, I said IDF.
Yeah. No, I know.
But
I think it's important for people. I know you know, but I think it's important for people to know that we're not even the ones doing it. It's Israel that's doing all the heavy lifting.
So I guess I'm saying the good guys are blowing these people up.
Exactly right.
But it is one of those things that what is the value of time right now? And how valuable is time? Is it going to be more beneficial to Hamas or is it going to be more beneficial to the IDF in Israel? And it's a hard thing to measure.
Yeah.
It's such a hard thing.
Time is definitely something that Hamas wants and needs more than anything. So every day that they get to do exactly what you just said, regroup, reposition, move people, hide people, whatever it is, the more time they get to do that, the better for them. And also, I don't think it can be understated that by this process that we have now set up with this war, the most valuable bargaining chip that Hamas has is hostages. So why would they not go capture more? Why would they not go take more? Because they can't do this forever. They can't do 10 a day and keep extending the ceasefire forever.
Yeah.
Unless they go capture more people, innocent people. So we've put a premium on the value of hostages.
Yeah.
It works. It gets you the time that you need. It gets you a pause in Israel's counterattack, and it allows you more time to regroup and rethink and move and do whatever you need to do. So I just and then when you read that statement that the Attorney General of the United States hopes, that terrorists will return American citizens.
Yeah.
Why? Out of the goodness of their heart? Because that doesn't exist. Oh, I hope that it's good. We've secured, 20 more Israeli hostages get to come home, and boy, I hope some Americans get to also. What?
It just
I hope?
shows that it's such a dramatic difference in just those words than we would be seeing under, I think, a Trump presidency. If this was 4 years ago, there would be no I hope. There would be action that was taken, that was applicable, I think, if Trump and his administration, or just maybe someone else that wasn't Joe Biden, was president.
I have a feeling, of course, we don't know for sure. I have a feeling that what Donald Trump would have done, remember from the very beginning, Netanyahu and the Israelis said, we don't want anybody's help.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we'll take the supplies and the resource. If you want to support us in that way, that's great. But we don't want your army over here.
Yeah.
We don't want your
boots on the ground.
ground. We don't want your generals. We don't want your military helping to strategize this for us, because we don't want to have anybody else involved in that than us. We don't want to ask anybody's permission or advice or anything on any actual action being taken. So if you want to help fund this and you want to help send us some supplies or, whatever, then that's great. But we don't want your army. We don't want your people. We don't want your help. I think that Donald Trump would have said, that's great. Here, we'll give you these supplies and you go do what you need to do. And he would have just stayed out of the way. That's what I think. That's what I think he would have done.
Yeah.
That's what I think would have happened under a Donald Trump presidency. It would have been, you've got our support.
This is what we're doing.
We'll send you some, aid. We'll send you some supplies if you need it. And you do whatever you need to do. Because that's exactly what he would have wanted for the United States.
Yeah.
That's kind of his whole thing.
Handle your own stuff.
His whole message, was always, I put America first. And when I go, because people would get on him about that, like, oh, he always puts America first, not the world. And Donald Trump's answer to that was always, yeah, I put America first, and I expect that when I go visit another country, that the leader of that country is going to put their country first. If I'm dealing with Germany, or if I'm dealing with the UK, or if I'm dealing with Israel, or whatever it is, I would expect the president, prime minister, or whatever the case is in those countries to put their country first, just like I will always put our country first. So because of that, I think that he would have said, we're happy to help you, to support you in this war against terrorists that attacked you. But you do you, and the United States would have had less to do with it even now than we do.
I'm wondering
and he would have put a focus on American hostages, not hope that they come back.
Right. I'm wondering what the people that protested in the Capitol building about a ceasefire are doing right now. Like, are they happy with what's going on? Like, they for weeks and weeks, we saw people protesting on college campuses, teachers tearing down flyers of the hostages and children that were taken. Where are all of the people that were rallying so hard for the ceasefire enough to break into the Capitol and do a protest at our United States Capitol? Where are they now, and what do they have to say about all this?
It's a great question. It's a great question. Do they look like a group of people that could ever be happy?
No.
So I doubt that they're happy.
Like, what? Where are they?
I think they always would. I think that it's never enough. They always want more, and they always have something to complain / protest about. But you're right. I would like to hear exactly what that mindset is at this point. And my guess is we won't have to wait long.
No.
Before we hear what the protesters have to say. All right, this is unbelievable. We are 50 days away. Today, 50 days away from the Iowa caucus. 50 days away from the first votes being cast in the 2024 presidential election. That is wild. 50 days. And there's a lot of news surrounding that. A lot of news coming out of Iowa. I want to get you up to speed on all of that. Plus, a liberal think tank has just put out a report that says that the only thing that could stop Joe Biden in 2024 is a third party, a strong third party candidate. It's not Donald Trump. It's not Ron DeSantis. It's not any Republican, because Biden's got them licked. He's licking the world.
He's licking the world.
He's licking the world. The only thing that can stop him is a strong third party. I'll tell you that story and see if you agree next on Colombo and Katie.
Well, tell me, did you sail across the sun? Did you make it to the Milky Way to see the lights all faded and that heaven is overrated?
The Democrat Party is going to have to go back toward the center.
News, analysis, and opinion.
I've never called a talk show before, but this just irked me.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Whole lot going on in this crazy world, but if you have been thinking about selling your house, don't wait any longer, because it is still a great time to do that. I went through the house selling process. My wife and I sold our old house, bought our new house just over a year ago with the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway, and the experience could not have been better. And there's been a lot of things that have changed in that year plus since we sold our house. But the one thing that hasn't changed is it is still very much a seller's market. No matter what has changed with interest rates or the housing market or any of that, simple supply and demand has kept it very much a good time for you to sell your house, and some great things you can take advantage of right now. So don't wait any longer. Call Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner Home Selling Team, the team that is selling 15 times more homes per year than your typical home seller, the team that has so many qualified buyers right now that they guarantee to get you an offer, and the team who has the experience and, above all else, the work ethic to get the job done at the very top level. As I said, we saw it firsthand ourselves, and we would totally, absolutely trust Rodney and Jen if we ever have to go through the process of selling our home or buying a new home again. So if you are thinking about selling your home, don't miss this opportunity. Call the Wallners now. 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner Home Selling Team.
Hey News Talk family, this is Levi from Thrive. So many moms and dads wouldn't have just celebrated Thanksgiving with their children this year if not for the way you have given of yourselves. So on behalf of those families, thank you. The need in St. Louis is as great as ever, and with our continued dedication to the cause of life, we will see the next 40,000 babies saved. You heard it right. Together we have saved over 40,000 lives. Look at God. Giving Tuesday is coming up on November the 28th, and check this out. We have a triple match. Every dollar you give from now up until November the 28th equals $3 thanks to some of our sacrificial families and foundations. And not only that, we still have 70% Missouri state tax credits set aside for our News Talk listeners. For example, with a $1,000 gift, you get back $700 on your Missouri state taxes, which is still deductible. We appreciate you so much, and we're all about seeing our partners be able to maximize their kingdom investments. You can go to thrivealivestl.org. That's thrivealivestl.org. Let me be the first to say Merry Christmas. Come again, Lord Jesus. Talk soon. God bless.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
There are a lot of great nonprofits looking for help on Giving Tuesday, but on our program, we'll tell you about one that's already saved thousands of lives.
Mornings starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL.
it's a bittersweet symphony that's life.
Welcome back to Colombo Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Just a few minutes, we're going to talk to our friend Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire. She joins us every Monday afternoon. Very much looking forward to that. And then in just over a half an hour at 3 o'clock, we are going to talk to Chad Wolf. He's the former DHS secretary under the Trump administration. So can't wait to talk to him about everything that's happening at the southern border, now the northern border, and many other things. So definitely keep it here for all of that. A liberal think tank says that the only thing that can stop Joe Biden in 2024 is a third party. Third Way, a left-leaning, ironically named, a left-leaning think tank has been sounding the alarm on a potential no-labels third-party ticket, and the group's co-founder warned that it could cause President Biden to lose in 2024. Matt Bennett is the co-founder of Third Way, and he has warned that the third-party effort by no labels could result in a victory for Donald Trump, but nothing else could. That's the only way he wins.
Yeah,
is with
of
help
course.
from a third party.
Especially, isn't a left-leaning Democrat thing? That's the only way he's going to win.
Yeah, a left-leaning think tank.
That's going to survive.
Yeah, that's not even
a thing
possible. Bennett says, quote, "We honestly believe," it's almost like he has to convince himself. "We honestly believe in a head-to-head race. Latest polls notwithstanding, Joe Biden wins in a presidential competition over Donald Trump because of the dynamics of the electorate. However, if there is a well-funded, reasonably high-profile, alleged moderate as an alternative, then Biden loses."
Wow.
It's only no labels. It's only Joe Manchin. That's the only thing that can stop the mighty Joe Biden.
You know, I think it's an interesting time for people like you who don't really affiliate with any, Republican, Democrat, with any party or any organization. I think it's just a very interesting time for people that associate with the Libertarian Party or have been looking for possibly something with no labels, because everyone is trying to capture what that is in a bottle right now. I think everybody is trying to figure out, what does something like that truly look like if it's going to be a Biden versus Trump presidency? And to me, I look at a far left-leaning think tank and think it's like the biggest joke in the entire world, because I don't know anything like that that's truly successful besides the Democrat Party. But
what are they doing? What are they producing? How are they?
What are they making? I mean, seriously, I can't think of anything that's far besides Black Lives Matter and
a think tank.
Yeah, what? But
Black Lives Matter was a protest group.
Right.
These are people that solve, they get together and they talk about
the world's problems.
High IQ issues, and so
how to solve them.
Exactly, the world's problems.
But all of these people are now trying to figure out how to get that independent voter. And I'm sure it's always been that way, but right now it just seems like such a pressing issue. And to think that this party is going to, organization, think tank, whatever you'd like to call it, is going to come in and they're going to be the people that rock Joe Biden's world, I just don't think they have the momentum they think they have. I don't think they have what they think they have.
No, that statement, I wonder how many, that quote from Matt Bennett, the co-founder of Third Way.
Who is he?
Think tank. He's the co-founder of Third Way.
But if you're going to start a party, bring somebody in that is has the name.
For him to say, "We honestly believe in a head-to-head race. Latest polls notwithstanding, Biden wins because of the dynamics of the electorate." I wonder how many other liberals and members of the Democrat Party are trying to tell themselves the same thing. The polls, all the things you're hearing in the media, all the things you're hearing from your own party, people in your own party, none of it's real. All of that is just made up, and it's not real. And Joe Biden actually is a very popular, strong, competent president. I wonder how prevalent that mindset is, because all we've heard recently is dissension in the Democratic Party. We've heard people like Dean Phillips, the congressman that's running against Joe Biden, and many other Democrat voters. I mean, in the polls, we've seen in the polls, the voters have spoken, and other members, elected members of the Democratic Party that have all said that Joe Biden, they'll say, we like Joe, we think he's done a good job, but he's not the guy for 4 more years because he's not capable of holding it together. So I wonder how many people in that party just think all of that's just not real.
It goes back to what they were relying upon in 2019, and that is the hatred of Donald Trump. And they believe that is going to be a winning strategy. And I don't think it's going to be a winning strategy. That's not saying that I know what's going to happen, obviously, in the 2024 election. But I think they're relying upon a 2019 strategy, even keeping Biden away from everybody else, that worked one time because of one crazy circumstance. And at that time, Donald Trump was the most, he still is, but at that time, the most polarizing person on the entire planet. Now that we've had some time away from Trump, and now that we've had some time away, I guess, to have Biden as our president, that 2019 strategy of campaigning in the bunker and relying on the hatred of Donald Trump is not going to work this time. I don't think.
Do you think there even is a third party? Do you think the no labels thing even happens?
I think you're the third party. I think
there'll be a libertarian candidate. I mean,
right,
and I'm glad you brought that up, because I have been asked by a lot of people, just personally, who know my voting record, like, oh, are you gonna? I've heard people say JFK or RFK Jr. is the libertarian candidate. No,
I've heard that too.
No, he's not. He's not. And anybody that thinks that does not know what a libertarian is, because he is a Democrat. He's just because he doesn't like Joe Biden doesn't make him a conservative or a Republican or a libertarian or anything else. He's still a Democrat. He's definitely not a libertarian. And this no labels party thing with Joe Lieberman and Joe Manchin as the two big names involved, also not libertarians. So no, they are not the kind of candidate or party or person that I would support, and I don't think any other libertarian-minded person would support in a presidential election. So the Libertarian Party will have a candidate, and, it'll do its thing like it always does. But outside of that, do you think there will be a strong candidate outside of the Republican and Democrats, whether it be Joe Manchin and the no labels, or does RFK Jr. actually run as an independent and make any? Do you see any of that stuff being anything outside the norm? Because the norm is the libertarians always run a presidential candidate. They don't get any attention or anything like that, but there always is a candidate. So outside the norm, do you see an actual presidential candidate coming from, either an independent spot like RFK Jr. or the no labels party with a Joe Manchin or, whoever?
I think I could see RFK Jr., but I don't know how successful it's going to be for him to actually be on the stage to debate Biden, Trump, RFK Jr.
I don't think you'd be invited on the stage.
Okay, and I guess I'd have to know how to be invited on the stage.
Yeah. Like the Libertarian candidate's never on the stage. So
that
maybe they would if it was Joe Manchin. Maybe the media would, maybe the party
have
the media would make would change the rules to allow another candidate up there. But typically the two parties are pretty strict about that, and they don't let anybody.
There's so much influence that social media has. That's like the most cliche sentence I know ever in the world, but it's popularity. I think that RFK has a a pretty good following. Now, I'm not going to say on the measure of Donald Trump or even Biden.
Sure.
But
I think you'd say the same thing about Joe Manchin.
Yeah, I think they have good followings. I think that they have been making the media circuits in their own ways. One being Joe Manchin on cable TV, RFK a little bit of cable TV, more on social media. And so does that qualify somebody to being legit? I don't know. I don't know, because I think that legitimacy has transformed so much. That has become such a different machine in operation that I've never seen quite work like it has right now. And that could have been the transformation of COVID. COVID could have changed so much of that and how people get that kind of information. But when you ask, like, is there someone that could be there?
Yeah, at the end of the day,
it's
would
hard.
there really be a name on the ballot outside the Republican Democrat?
I think no.
There'll always be a Libertarian candidate. There'll always be a Green Party candidate. They're
I think
always
no.
listed, but
no.
Yeah, I think I agree.
But it's hard to filter.
I guess I'll
through
believe
that.
it when I see it. But yeah. The actual chances, I still think that if Joe Manchin runs, he's going to run as a Democrat. He's the one guy that could beat Joe Biden in a primary, and I think give Donald Trump a much better run for his money than Joe Biden could in a general election.
Mm-hmm.
This idea, I will agree with one thing that, what was his name? Matt Bennett? What was the guy's name?
Golly, I don't know.
Yeah, Matt Bennett, the co-founder of Third Way, the left-leaning think tank.
We all know him, don't we?
Yeah, I will agree with him when he says that the no labels party, like a Joe Manchin type candidate or an RFK independent candidate, it does damage Joe Biden more than it damages Donald Trump. It just adds to, Trump's lead. But I disagree wholeheartedly when he says that that's the only way that Trump can win.
Yeah.
I think that Joe Biden is probably going into this presidential election process is probably the worst candidate I've ever seen. Because he's a terrible president. He looks incapable. He looks weak and fragile and old and incapable, and his record isn't very good. If he was like Reagan was old at the end of his term. But he was a really popular president that had gotten a lot of things accomplished. So if Joe Biden had this great first term, it just looked like he was getting old, that'd be a different story. He might be able to overcome looking fragile and weak if he had this great record. But he's been a disaster as a president, and he looks like it's going to be a struggle to do anything for the next 4 years.
4 years.
Let alone run the country.
And the catastrophes have fallen into Biden's lap to do something with. They have been.
He's had an opportunity to be a leader.
That's
a great point.
So many times, and he just has never stepped up to the plate. And I know the economy is the long game, and affecting the economy in 4 years, you could do it. Trump did it, but I know that that's the long game, but there's been other catastrophes that we could play the short game with and resolve, and that just hasn't happened yet. And he has just not stepped up to the plate or proven to the American people that he has 4 more years in him when more catastrophes could definitely be coming.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have it in him to resolve anything now or later on in the road.
No. I will say that I can't wait till a presidential debate.
Oh my gosh.
I just don't see how Joe Biden could stand on a stage for 2 hours.
Yeah, and think.
And answer questions and have to be with it. I think they're going to do everything they possibly can to keep him off the debate stage. But then again, anybody out there who is thinking about voting for Joe Biden, forget about Donald Trump. It's not that, okay? It's not about who the other person is. It's about the person you want to lead this country, if they're incapable of standing on stage for 2 hours,
and talking,
you think that they're capable of running the country for 4 years? If you can't stand on a stage and think, look, whatever your job is, I could stand on a stage and people could ask me questions about being in radio for 2 hours, and I could stand there and answer every question. And at no point would I be like, I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to think. I can't. What do I do? I don't have an answer for this. And whatever your job is, you could do the same thing. Whatever your job is, if somebody put you up at the front of a room and said, we're going to ask you questions about whatever your industry is for the next 2 hours, you'd be able to do it. He can't do it.
Yeah.
And if he can't even do that, how could he do his job, which is running the country?
You're right. It's not about not liking Trump. It's about looking at Joe Biden and evaluating him.
It's who you're voting for.
Yeah.
And if you're voting for Joe Biden, I understand why you don't vote for Donald Trump. I get all of the things.
But why Joe Biden?
I get all the reasons that people don't like Donald Trump. I understand them all completely. I don't understand anybody that says that they like Joe Biden.
No way. No way.
No way. All right, as we mentioned, 50 days. Today is 50 days to the Iowa caucus. Got some new poll numbers as well as some more information coming out of that state. Want to get into those details when we talk to Virginia Kruger from the Daily Wire. Also, Virginia, speaking of Joe Biden, has a brand new column out at thedailywire.com about Joe Biden claiming that he's doing, quote, everything possible to stop fentanyl from crossing the border. Are you? Everything possible? Here's Virginia's headline, which I think is great. Biden claims he's doing everything possible to stop fentanyl, comma, and people have thoughts.
Great.
So definitely want to ask her about that article and talk about the 50 days from now until the first votes cast in the 2024 presidential election. That is absolutely unbelievable. We'll get into all of it with Virginia Kruger from the Daily Wire next on Colombo and Katie.
You know the one that takes you to the places where all the things meet, yeah.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
The news and talk. It's a very sad situation for our country. We shouldn't have this. This is third world countries.
That matters to St. Louis.
Judge Angoran was visibly frustrated with Trump.
1019 and 94.1.
Really election interference.
News Talk STL.
If you are looking for a new vehicle, Weber Chevrolet, 3 locations around town to serve you, is the place to go. Creve Coeur in Missouri, Granite City, and Columbia in Illinois. Weber just off their huge Black Friday sale, but always the best place to go when you're looking for the best price on a new or used car. They also are offering more than anyone on trade-in, although the inventory at the Weber dealerships have gotten way better over the last few months. They are still offering a premium for your trade-in so they can bolster their used car inventory. In fact, if you want to flip the script and you just have a car to sell and you're not even looking to buy, Weber Chevrolet is in the business of buying vehicles right now, so you can take advantage of that as well. But if you are looking for a new vehicle, again, Weber Chevrolet and their 3 dealerships around town, nobody will take care of you better than they will. And in fact, that is why they have been around for 120 years. Unbelievable that Weber Chevrolet is celebrating 120 years in business in the St. Louis area. And the reason that they are able to do that is because of how well they have treated their customers over that long period of time. The service departments at Weber Chevrolet are second to none. We completely trust. There was a time in my life years ago where if we had car problems, it put a pit in your stomach because you didn't know who to trust. You didn't know what was wrong. You didn't know if whatever somebody was telling you was the truth or not. And all of that is taken away when you are working with the great service department at Weber Chevrolet. And I think it is that trust in the way that they have taken care of their customers and their vehicles long after they have sold them the car that has earned business generation after generation from so many St. Louis families. So if you are looking to buy a new car, check out everything happening at all 3 Weber dealerships at WeberChevrolet.com.
How's your health care? Insured but afraid to use it because of high copays and deductibles? You wait weeks for a few minutes with your doctor? It's Dr. Randy Tobler, and I struggle with the same issues as both patient and doc. You want to know that you're the focus, not the billing codes or faceless denial experts at insurance skyscrapers, which is why I've decided there's a better way. At Body of Health Direct Primary Care, you'll receive timely and time-rich appointments in person or virtually, whichever fits your needs and schedule, along with hundreds of free medications, transparent and truly affordable labs, and most importantly, a trusting relationship. We'll dig deep for solutions to problems and fill you with holistic coaching to minimize the need for high-powered medicine or specialty care. Now, if you need that, I'll work with specialists to streamline that journey too. And if it's prenatal care, hormonal, or sexual health that's bugging you, I'm board certified in women's health. Want a Body of Health? Get to know us at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Hey, it's Monday. That means great pizza at a great price. All 4 Steph's Pizza locations make Monday great again with a 16-inch large pizza for just the price of a small. You heard right. It's a classic large Steph's Pizza, however you would like it, for the price of a small. All 4 locations of Steph's Pizza are making Mondays great again. And hey, look, it just happens to be Monday. Check it out at stephspizza.com.
This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. I clear my throat right before we go on the air, and then right when we start, comes back. All right. Hi, I'm Tony. That's Katie. We are trying to get a hold of Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire. She's a very, very busy person, so we'll see if we can connect with her. We are also, this afternoon, going to talk to Chad Wolf. He's the former Department of Homeland Security Secretary under President Donald Trump. He is also the Chief Strategy Officer and Chairman of Homeland Security at the America First Policy Institute. So very much looking forward to talking to Chad here in just about 15 minutes about everything happening, all the stories surrounding the southern border, an update on what happened at the northern border at Niagara Falls last week on what was originally being reported as a terrorist attack, but then the narrative sort of changed on that story as time went on. So we'll get the latest on that from Chad Wolf in a few moments. And speaking of Virginia, whether we connect with her or not, she has a brand new article out at the Daily Wire where Joe Biden, I didn't see this statement until I read Virginia's article. And I think we have Virginia on the line with us now. I didn't even know that this story or this claim existed until I read Virginia's article on the Daily Wire about Joe Biden last week claiming that he's doing everything possible to stop fentanyl. And that is just so boldly not true. It's unbelievable. And I think we do have Virginia on the line with us. Virginia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So, I'm definitely going to we're going to talk to Chad Wolf, the former DHS secretary under Trump, here in just a few minutes. I'm going to bring up your story on the Daily Wire, but fill us in on Joe Biden last week claiming that he's doing everything possible to stop fentanyl from coming across the southern border illegally into the United States. The president could do a lot.
That's not exactly what he said.
Okay.
What he said was he was doing everything possible to stop fentanyl. And I think what he meant by that was, I'm having conversations with Chinese President Xi. And I think Joe Biden, I think he overestimates his ability to get Xi to do what he wants him to do.
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
overestimates his influence when it comes to
Everything.
international
I think everything.
relations.
And let me ask you this,
Yeah.
because I agree with you. I think he does overestimate. He overestimates his influence when he's talking to world leaders, and he overestimates his ability to sell something to the American people. You know, I think he's used to a life where he's always been able to convince people
Right.
of whatever. So my question to you is, has he just lost that ability, or did he never have? Has it been something that he believes that he's had in the past, or still has, that he never really had? Did he used to be able to wield this kind of influence and sort of BS peddling to the American people, or did he lose it?
I don't think he ever really had it to the degree that he believed he did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he may have had more of it than he does now, because when you can't finish a sentence, it's harder to schmooze. I mean, let's just be real.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But so if you can't describe what you're selling or can't explain what you're selling, then it's much harder to sell it. But I think for a very long time, Joe Biden has enjoyed attempting to sell things that are generally popular.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't often been on the unpopular side of something.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he's trying to sell the same thing that everybody else is selling and that everybody wants anyway, it's easy to get an inflated sense of, I mean, it's like the car salesman on the Tesla lot when all anybody wants is an electric car. Of course you're going to get an inflated sense of your ability to sell, because the thing is selling itself. You're not actually doing it, but you don't necessarily know that.
Well, and it's also why he's had such a long, successful political career, because great politicians will latch on to a popular movement or a popular, thought, and they will try to make people believe that either they created it or they're the ones that are responsible for, pumping more energy or more awareness into whatever the issue is. And I think he did that for so long but now he's, to your point, Virginia, that suddenly he's trying to do that with unpopular topics or issues,
right?
And it's backfiring.
Right. So he's got two problems. One, he's trying to sell something that's not as popular as he's used to, and two, he's not the salesman that he thought he was.
Mm-hmm.
But the people around him are still telling him that he is.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see something like that, and this was eye-opening. On ABC News this weekend, it was on This Week, there was it was on Meet the Press. I'm sorry. It was on Meet the Press, and Kristen Welker was hosting it, and she had one Republican on the panel, and she didn't even go to him. This is a guy who used to work for Paul Ryan and John Boehner when they were House Speakers. And she had Simone Sanders, who used to work for Bernie Sanders and then Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
And she had a couple other Democrats on this panel. And she was asking them about this idea that Biden has stopped selling Bidenomics, because Bidenomics is the word Bidenomics is being seen by Democrats across the country as
bad,
unpopular, or unfavorable.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying, and of course they're saying, oh, it's a messaging problem. No, it's not a messaging problem. It's the fact that Bidenomics doesn't work. It's the fact that, you're saying all these things, and you're telling us that you're putting into all these policies that are going to take into account, climate equity and whatever else. And we can't afford to eat beef more than once a week. So, this is, people aren't seeing, it's not that the messaging is bad, it's that the message is bad.
Right. Yeah. And the messenger is even worse. I was saying earlier that I can't think
Well, the messenger is the reason the message exists.
Yeah, that's true. I can't think of a.
And people see that.
50 days from now is the Iowa caucus. First votes will be cast in the 2024 presidential election, which is wild to me. 50 days from now. And as it stands here, I can't think of a worse presidential candidate that I've ever seen because his record is terrible. His record as president is terrible. And his fragility and incompetence is center stage. I can't think of anybody that's been in a worse position going into a presidential campaign. Can you?
No, I would agree with that. The difficulty that we have is we have to we can't overestimate Biden's weakness because keep in mind we all knew that this was what was happening to him 4 years ago.
It's true.
We all knew this, and he still managed to get himself elected.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You can say what you will about fraud or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's still a lot of people who should have known better and voted for him anyway.
You're exactly right, and it's a great message, and it's a great thing to remember. Virginia, unfortunately, we're about out of time here, but no, you're exactly right. It's something that you've got to. You don't want to take for granted. He is a terrible president, and he's very weak and incompetent. But if you think that he's just going to automatically lose without you doing something right,
and I think especially we have to also not underestimate how many people have been conditioned to hate whoever the Republican is.
Such a great point.
But especially certain Republicans.
Certain Republicans named Donald Trump. Virginia, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time as always. Make sure you check out Virginia's articles every day on thedailywire.com and on our website, newstalkstl.com. Chad Wolf, former DHS secretary under Trump, joins us next.
Everybody wants the economy to grow, right? But how do you feel about officials in effect giving your tax money to developers for their private projects? In the past 15 years, the city of St. Louis alone has diverted $709 million to developers in tax subsidies or abatements. That was money that would have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. Even worse, numerous studies around the country show these kinds of subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. There's nothing wrong with developers wanting to build new shopping centers or company headquarters, but why should they get tax subsidies to do so? If it's a good business idea, great, but let them assume the risks as well as any possible rewards. It's time to reform economic development subsidies in Missouri. Check out our 2023 Missouri Blueprint, moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
KLDY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Yuri Ravitz, the son of released Israeli hostage Elma Abraham, says his mother was left for weeks without crucial medication while in captivity with Hamas in Gaza.
My mother's state should be different. She had to get her medicine, and we fight for this for 7 weeks from day one.
Meanwhile, Israel and Hamas have agreed to extend their ceasefire for 2 more days past Monday. A 4th swap of hostages for prisoners under the deal was expected later today. Also at townhall.com, Democrats are more concerned than ever about their prospects of holding a slim Senate majority in 2024. Correspondent Bob Agnew with that report.
It was already looking like an uphill climb for Democrats to retain their 51-49 majority, but Joe Manchin's announcement he won't seek another term virtually hands his West Virginia seat to Republicans. John Tester is seen as vulnerable in the very red state of Montana, and Ohio's Sherrod Brown will have to overcome the odds to outpace Republicans in a state that leans red. All GOP challengers are being bolstered by declining poll numbers for President Biden and a corresponding rise for former President Donald Trump. Bob Agnew reporting.
Today is Cyber Monday, a term coined back in 2005 by the National Retail Federation, and it continues to be the biggest online shopping day of the year. Adobe Analytics expects consumers to spend between $12 and $12.4 billion today for several major retailers. The Cyber Monday sale is a days-long event that began over the weekend. And it looks like a lower close on Wall Street. The Dow finishing down 56 points, the NASDAQ 9 points in the red. More at townhall.com.
Relief factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Hi, Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Step up your grilling game with our Solaire portable infrared grills. Our compact everywhere is a favorite of RVers and trailer pullers. Solaire Infrared provides the quick sear for bar marks and texture needed to properly finish sous vide. Use a portable alongside your larger conventional grill to create an instant sear zone and more juicy and flavorful food. Learn more at BestHotGrill.com. Affordable, powerful, portable infrared grills at BestHotGrill.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
It's a chilly day out there after cold temperatures this morning. The high today only in the low 40s, but lots of sunshine. It's a beautiful day. It's a little breezy, too, so the wind chills stay in the 20s and 30s all day. Tuesday morning, we'll be in the mid-20s again, lower 20s in some of the colder spots with a high near 40 with plenty of sunshine. Looks like some rain Thursday and Friday this week. I'm KMOV First Alert meteorologist Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Fox News commentary.
Mitt Romney dishes on who he would and would not vote for in 2024, and it's the least surprising thing you'll hear today. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Is the textbook definition of a rhino, so it's not the least bit shocking that he declared in a CBS interview he'd vote for a Democrat over Trump or Vivek Ramaswamy. He noted he'd support any of the other Republican presidential candidates, but that a Democrat would be an upgrade over Donald Trump. This harkens back to 2016 and the Never Trump wave of rhinos who vowed to vote for Hillary Clinton or a third party over Trump. Many of these folks ended up sucking up to Trump after he won, only to turn on him once again. Mitt Romney is the ringleader of that pathetic circus. It's not a coincidence Romney isn't seeking re-election. Any support the Utah Dem Republican had has dissipated almost entirely. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. The R behind Romney is nothing more than a Halloween costume at this point, so I say this with love. Bye-bye, mittens. You will not be missed. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
It is that time of year that you may have already been up on your roof hanging Christmas lights, or you'll be up there very, very soon. And if you notice anything wrong with your gutters while you are up there, don't let a potentially small problem get any worse. If you're up there and you realize that your gutters are stuffed with leaves because it is that time of year, we've talked about the battle at my house, the weekend, every weekend for the last few weeks, the battle against the leaves at our house as they continue to just fall everywhere can create a huge problem for your gutters if you don't have the proper protection. And that is where the Gutter Pros come in. Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. I as much of a battle with the leaves that I have had recently, it does not involve the gutters, because we did have Gutter Pros at our house just a few months ago, and that is one spot that I know is completely taken care of thanks to Dave Sylvester and his team at Gutter Pros. Leaf protection is a big part of the services that they offer right now, especially this kind of year. Also, gutter repair and new gutter installation and everything to do with the, things surrounding your gutter, the soffits and the fascia and all of that. Gutter Pros is the team to call. They offer free estimates. So if you are having a gutter issue, but you are not sure you're prepared to move forward with a new project or whatever, have the Gutter Pros come out, explain to you exactly what's going on so you are armed with that information of your options moving forward and costs and timeline and all of that. And my guess is, much like I was, you will be surprised at just how quick and easy and affordable it is getting your gutters taken care of when you're dealing with the team at Gutter Pros. Call the Gutter Pros now at 314-656-7195 or just go to gutterpros.com.
Talk radio made in St. Louis for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL.
Our responsibility.
News, analysis, and opinion.
To provide updated guidance.
At 1019, 941, and newstalkstl.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. I'm Tony Colombo here in studio with my partner Katie Fitzpatrick. And joining us on the line now is Chad Wolf, the former Department of Homeland Security Secretary under President Donald Trump, and now the Chief Strategy Officer and Chairman of Homeland Security at the America First Policy Institute. Chad, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I can't think of a better person to talk to with all the so many border issues happening in our world right now. So really appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us. How are you?
Well, I'm doing well, and thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You bet. So the first question I wanted to ask you, obviously there's all kinds of things to talk about with the southern border and, with things like the fentanyl issue and now the terrorism issue happening on the other side of the world. But a story that kind of came and went surrounding the border was what happened at the Rainbow Bridge at the Niagara Falls northern border last week. That story was everywhere as it was happening. It was originally being reported as a possible terrorist attack. And then suddenly that the word terrorist got dropped from that story, and then the story got dropped, and it just seemed to absolutely disappear. So I was wondering if you could give us a little insight or a little update on on what exactly happened up there at that northern border at Niagara Falls, and what the actual real details were, because it seemed like the narrative changed pretty quickly over the course of a day or two.
Right. So there was an incident on Thanksgiving Day at that port of entry in Niagara Falls, and it was a vehicle that eventually exploded after it had crashed. It had hit a curb, jumped a fence, and crashed into a customs booth there at that port of entry, and then exploded, killing the two passengers involved. And initially, as you indicated, I think authorities thought, given the holiday coincidence there, that it perhaps might be an act of terrorism. I think they've walked that back. They've now understand what occurred. There's a lot of video. It seems as though the vehicle was out of control, hit a curb, jumped a fence, did a variety of other things, a lot of it unintentional, but a series of coincidences happened there. And again, it occurred on federal property at a port of entry. So I think that's why it raised a lot of eyebrows versus any other car wreck that day.
Yeah, and then you have a media that is jumping to conclusions and trying to be first, reporting, whatever the situation may be, and sometimes the story can be, not reality after you step back and look at it for after a little period of time. So yeah, I really appreciate that update, because again, that was something that we were reporting on last week that seemed like it was going to be this big situation that was tied into terrorism, and then all of a sudden it just sort of dropped off of everybody's radar screen. What has not dropped off the radar screen, and I think is going to play a huge role, especially now, we've been talking about throughout the day today. Today is 50 days until the Iowa caucus, which is incredible. We're 50 days away from the first votes being cast in the 2024 presidential election. And as always, but I think especially this year, the southern border and border security in general is going to play a huge role in this presidential season. Give us an idea of just how of the current state, the reality of the current state at the southern border, or just border security in general, and how much that really does need to be addressed by whoever the next president is.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think a lot of Americans are paying attention to what we say is border security. A lot of people like to say it's border security and immigration. I separate the two issues because what you have along that southern border is a border security problem, not an immigration problem per se. Look, I think it still matters. I think over the last 35 months of the Biden administration has been an abject failure when it comes to the border. And so the 3 fiscal years, the last one just ending in the Biden administration, have been the 3 worst years in the history of the United States as it relates to illegal apprehensions.
Wow.
The Biden administration has 10 of the highest months ever recorded in our nation's history as far as illegal apprehension. So any way you look at it, it's a failure. The American people, if you look at polling, different polls, all say the same thing, which is the majority of Americans and even almost a majority of Democrats don't believe that this administration is going in the right direction when it comes to securing the border and providing some sovereignty back to the United States. So I think that's where most people are. They want to see a change in strategy. The Biden administration doesn't seem to be listening because they continue to go down this terrible path where each month continues to get worse and worse from the previous month.
Chad, we have 2 really pressing questions that are on a lot of people's minds when it comes to the border. And that is, number 1, who isn't Border Patrol catching? Who are the people that are just the gotaways, basically getting into the country and going God knows where? And number 2, if people are being apprehended, where are they being released to? And I'm wondering if you can explain that a little bit to us, maybe even the difference between when you were working as the DHS secretary under Trump and what you're seeing right now with this administration. If people are being caught, where are they being released to? And where are those going that aren't being caught or documented at all?
Yeah, so we have about, during the Biden administration, there have been about 1.8 million gotaways. These are individuals that cross the border, but that Border Patrol does not apprehend.
Wow.
But we know that they cross from radar feeds, from camera feeds, tracks in the sand, and there's a variety of other ways that Border Patrol tracks those individuals. So 1.8 million. These are the individuals that have the ability and the means to pay the cartel members to smuggle them across the border where they know Border Patrol officers are not. And so it leads you to believe that these individuals are trying to abscond from law enforcement. They don't want to come into contact for a law enforcement agent, and that's for a very specific reason. It's probably because they're criminals themselves, or they're known or suspected terrorists, which we've apprehended over 270 of those. And so they're really bad people, either national security threats or public safety threats, coming across that border. Well, like I said, well over a million, 1.8 million at this time. So those are the concerning ones. All the other ones on all the numbers and all the photos that you see on Fox News and elsewhere, these are the individuals that actually give themselves up to Border Patrol, who come across the border and essentially sit down and wait for Border Patrol. Those are also concerning, but not as concerning as the gotaways. To answer your second question, where are they all going? They're going to every community in the United States, because that's the policy of this administration is we catch them and then we release them, hence the phrase release. Border Patrol catches them, they turn them over to another element of DHS who releases them, oftentimes with a plane ticket, a bus ticket, or a train ticket paid for by taxpayers to the city of their choice. They're supposed to check in with ICE. They're supposed to go to their immigration court proceedings. But we know, because the data tells us, that the vast majority of them, the overwhelming majority of them, don't show up for their court proceedings. And when they do, they don't ever really qualify for asylum. And so that's kind of the game they're playing. They know this. The cartels know this. The Biden administration knows this. And yet they don't change it. They don't try to alter the system. They just continue to sort of heads in the sand, continue to move forward.
Talking to Chad Wolf with the America First Policy Institute, former DHS secretary during the Trump administration. And Chad is somebody who has worked directly with the people in ICE and with Border Patrol agents. How frustrating, what's the morale like when all of these record numbers that you just pointed out are happening, and they're the ones that it's their job to keep the border safe. Now they're being extremely handcuffed, obviously, and limited in what they are able to do. What does that do to the morale of the ICE agents and the Border Patrol agents down at the southern border and all across the country, quite frankly?
Yeah, it's a huge problem that Border Patrol has been dealing with here for a couple of years now. They're frustrated. They want to do their jobs. They're trained law enforcement officers that are supposed to, their job at the end of the day is to keep bad people and bad individuals out of the country. And the only way to do that is to be on that border and on that line, apprehending and bad people and bad things. But today, 7 out of every 10 Border Patrol agents are in facilities processing migrants. Just think about that. 7 out of every 10 are not on the line doing that national security job that they should be doing, that we need to be doing. In the Trump administration, it was almost the reverse of that. 7 were out on the line, and we had to have some back processing the daily flow of migrants. So Border Patrol is upset, and they're frustrated, and they need, they keep asking for policy changes so that they can have some consequences to what's going on that border.
So, we've been talking, the border's been a big issue for years and years, and the focus is usually on drug cartels, on criminals from Mexico or, parts of Central America or South America, coming into our country, people that we don't want here to begin with. But now, with everything happening in the world, and specifically happening in the Middle East with Hamas and Israel, there's been a bigger concern on terrorists. And I did see a stat the other day that touch points with people with known terrorist connections are at a record high at the southern border. How big of what's the reality of how big of a concern it is for Border Patrol agents, and should be just for American citizens across the country, that people that are connected to terrorist organizations could be coming across the southern border basically unchecked?
Yeah, this is actually a very big problem. In the last 3 years, here's why we know it's a big problem, because the Biden administration has apprehended about 270 known or suspected terrorists on government watch list. And these are the individuals they've picked up, not the individuals that, again, the gotaways we don't know about. And so if you contrast that, so 270 first 3 years, and you contrast that with all 4 years of the Trump administration, and there were 16. All 4 years, 16. That tells you that the rest of the country is paying attention on what's going on along our southern border, and they're saying now is a good time to try to come into the United States illegally because of the overwhelming number of individuals. It's almost like you've flooded the zone, and Border Patrol can't keep up. And so, the main, I would say, the legacy media and others want the American people to believe it's just families and children coming across that border, and that's simply not the case. There are bad people that want to do bad things to Americans and to America every single day trying to cross that border. And you only have to look to places like, obviously, what's going on in Israel and Gaza and the like. And the same people that want to kill, Jewish people also want to kill Americans, Hezbollah and Hamas and others. And so it's not a large leap to say that there are some major national security threats coming across that border.
Only got a couple minutes left here with Chad Wolf, former DHS secretary during the Trump administration. I don't want to act like this is obviously a big issue that is going to take a while to fix. But when Donald Trump did take office, and we've seen this in history, several other times, it seems like when there's a leader, when there's a government, when there's leadership that's focused on the southern border or any issue really, that a lot of things can get better pretty quickly. If someone like Donald Trump or anybody besides Joe Biden is elected president next year, is it optimistic to say that things can get better in a relatively short amount of time if the right resources and directives are put in place?
I think that's right. I think if you look at all the Republican candidates running for president right now, they're all very bullish on what's going on that southern border and have a lot of good thoughts and remedies there. And so I do think that you would see a different change in tactics and tone. It's not going to happen overnight, though. It's going to take some hard work initially to see some change. There are some things that you can do quickly. Other things will take several months to get in place. But the damage done over the 4 years of the Biden administration is going to be significant. You're going to have probably upwards to over 10 million people to have come into the country illegally. And how many of those are still in the United States and where are they at and who are they? That's going to take some time to sort through.
Chad Wolf, we really appreciate your time. Always love talking to any of you guys at the America First Policy Institute. Always great stuff. And, of course, really appreciate your insight on these issues. Have a great rest of your day and hope to talk to you again soon. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. That is Chad Wolf, former DHS secretary under the Donald Trump administration, and great information and great insight, quite frankly, about the issues on the border and, what can be done about these things. And there is no magic switch, but if we were joking earlier with Virginia Cruda about the article that she had written on the Daily Wire, where last week, where Joe Biden claimed that he's doing, quote, everything possible to stop fentanyl. No, he's not. He's not. Because if he was, I'm not saying that he would be able to stop it, but it would be a much different situation than what we're dealing with now. And that goes for the southern border and just border security in general. When you have a government, when you have leadership that is focused on cleaning that up, then things
would dramatically change.
A lot better. It could get a lot better faster than I think people realize. I mean, it's still going to be an ongoing problem, but these record number of terrorist touch points and gotaways and all these other terrible statistics that we have seen over the last couple of years, go away pretty quick. So, just something that is important to keep in mind, as we are now 50 days away from the first votes being cast in the 2024 presidential election. 50 days till the Iowa caucus. That is absolutely incredible. Something else that is absolutely incredible, the Loop Trolley is still going.
I saw that.
Still going, and let's add another year because it's going so well.
It's so pathetic.
Tell you that story and more next on Colombo and Katie.
And local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Can't say enough good things about my friend Jeremiah and his team at A+ Plumbing and Drain. You guys have heard me talk about Jeremiah. He's been the Colombo family plumber since before there was an A-plus plumbing and drain. And in fact, the whole company has been built off of word of mouth and recommendation. And that is I can't think of a better way to build a company, a more credible way to build a company than that you become so much in demand because of the high level of work that you provide on basically everything from the intense projects, like at our house, installing an entire bathroom from scratch, from nothing to an entire full bathroom from scratch, to the little things like just replacing a faucet, a sink faucet, or whatever it may be. A-Plus Plumbing and Drain does it all. Local, family-owned business that can take care of all your plumbing needs and specializes, and this is especially important, with so much of this happening in the area, in new construction and home renovation. So if you do have one of those projects in new construction or home renovation, A-Plus Plumbing and Drain is definitely the team to call. Call A-Plus for your next project at 636-288-7126 or contact them through Facebook. Facebook. A-Plus Plumbing and Drain on Facebook.
Vincent's Jewelers has the hottest gift for the holidays. Flexible bracelets, quality, beauty, starting at just $150. And, of course, you'll want to check for rings, pendants, maybe watches. I suggest you check the website each day for new items and specials. VincentsJewelers.com. VincentsJewelers.com. Give Vincent's a chance for your business. Vincent's, locally owned, supporting local charities for more than 42 years. Vincent's, my only jeweler.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
It was 2022 when Florida Governor Ron DeSantis decided to take some illegals and fly them to Martha's Vineyard. One state senator in Massachusetts said, "We got no advance notice anyone was coming, that these migrants were arriving. We didn't know it. Now we're pushed into a crisis. We've got to open up emergency shelters. This is an unexpected, urgent humanitarian situation." He flew in 50 illegals, and they're complaining that that's just too much to handle. And then comes this story out of Martha's Vineyard, dated November 14, just days ago. ICE actually seized a Brazilian who was there illegally. He was wanted by authorities in Brazil. He'd received multiple criminal convictions in Brazil for raping a 5-year-old. And for that, he got 14 years in prison. Then somehow or another, he's out, crossing our southern border where they don't really vet to check on anything, and he goes right to Martha's Vineyard. Now they might have a real crisis, but they got him out in a hurry. But the rest of the nation, not so safe.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Lit Cigar wins Best Smoking Lounge and Best Smoke Shop in the Riverfront Times Best of St. Louis listing for 2023. That is 2 years back-to-back. Lit Cigar Lounge and its new space in the district just off Highway 40 in Chesterfield. Lit is for men and women who enjoy great cigars, premium drinks. The website keeps you on top of special events, including live entertainment. LitSTL.com. LitSTL.com.
Do you live in West St. Louis County? Then you can get West News Magazine delivered free to your home just by asking for it. West News Magazine is the only print source for the political, school, business, and sports news happening in your hometown. Simply visit westnewsmagazine.com/subscribe or pick up a free copy at all area Deerbergs and Schnuck stores. West News Magazine. Anybody who wants it gets it. Anybody who gets it wants it. Subscribe for free today. Simply visit westnewsmagazine.com/subscribe.
Ackerman Toyota has the 2024 models. You're going to be impressed. Check them out in person at Ackerman Toyota, Hampton and Interstate 44. In fact, you've got to see the 2024 Toyota Sequoia. Very impressive. This is the time to buy and get top dollar for your vehicle. Looking for pre-owned? Ackerman Toyota can also help you. Ackerman Toyota at Hampton and 44. AckermanToyota.com. Ackerman Toyota for life.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Author, political commentator, and Trump supporter Dick Morris has a brand new book out. We'll talk to him Tuesday at 9:41.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1. Well, and then as soon as you figure this out, we're going to move again.
It's just, and like I keep looking over here, and Ken has all of his little sticky notes saying where everybody is going, and I think to myself, okay, so he has these sticky notes. It's smart. It's so smart because I keep forgetting where I'm going. So Ken is always right.
We're in our new studios, but we're still in our temporary studio as we get ready to move into our new big studio here at our new location, which is very, very exciting. If you're watching on the cameras, you can see what the new digs look like. Of course, you can also make sure you subscribe to the Colombo and Katie podcast so you never miss any of the conversations that we have here on the show. We talked to Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire a little bit earlier, and we just wrapped up a conversation with Chad Wolf, the former Department of Homeland Security Secretary under Donald Trump. Great insight and information surrounding border security and the southern border. Also interesting to hear him talk about the Niagara Falls incident, which was being reported as a terrorist attack, and it was the biggest story of the day and all of this. And then all of a sudden they found out that it was just like a guy who like lost control of his car and like jumped the curb and all of this. And there was
totally not that.
And then all of a sudden the story just disappeared.
Yeah. Nowhere to be found.
Nowhere to be found whatsoever. All right, looking at some local headlines here. The Loop Trolley, still in the news, still happening, and we're still having the same ridiculous conversation surrounding it. The head of Bi-State Development said that he will likely run the Del Mar Loop Trolley longer than first planned. At $51 million in taxpayer money, the trolley is one of the St. Louis area's costliest projects in recent history. One of?
Yeah.
I'd like to hear the project that's more
costly
than that. I mean, there might be a project that cost more, but as far as like return on investment,
the
Loop Trolley has had zero. In fact, it's less than zero return on investment.
Yeah.
It's done more damage. It's
useless.
It literally caused property damage at the beginning.
Yeah.
And
car damage.
Yeah, car damage. And then whenever the few times that it does run, which I think that's limited to like the weekends now.
Yeah, great.
It causes a bunch of traffic.
Yeah.
So it's not even there's
the dumbest idea known to St. Louis.
There's negative return on this investment. Bi-State Development President and CEO Tolby Roach said that the agency is making progress to keep the project afloat and is considering running the trolley for at least 4 more years instead of the originally planned 3 more years. Quote, "We solve problems for the region. This wasn't our project. It's not the county executive's favorite project. It's not the mayor's favorite project. But what we had to do was solve a problem. And you know what? We're doing pretty well," Roach said. Look, you should have just stopped at it wasn't our project and nobody likes it.
And done with it.
Because you're right about all of that. But
that's truthful.
We're doing pretty well? I don't think so.
No.
Trolley was forced to shut down, of course, in late 2019 because of lack of finances brought on by poor ridership. There was debate over whether to let the trolley fail and default on the money the federal government had kicked in for the project. St. Louis Mayor Tashar Jones led the push to get Bi-State Development to run the trolley because if it would have been shut down, the St. Louis area would have had to pay the federal government the money back.
Well,
and nobody wants to do that. So let's just have this terrible idea that blocks traffic and nobody likes or rides. Let's just keep that going for another, 4 or 5 years because
chugging along.
Yeah. So they're bragging about this. Toby Roach, who again, Bi-State Development President and CEO, he's right when he says this wasn't his problem, but he's wrong when he tries to brag about whatever successes that they've had with it.
Oh, absolutely.
He said, quote, we had over 8,000 rides in 2022. 8,000 in the whole year of 2022. And then he says, and now we've exceeded that number with over 8,500 rides in 2023.
Excuse me, what?
We need to compress it. Be sure that we're running it with the minimal operating capacity.
Who's riding the loop trolley, though?
Nobody, because 8,500 people.
Nothing.
That's not even half the Enterprise Center. That's not even.
It's a drop in the water.
That's like going to a Blues game, but only a third of the Enterprise Center is full. That's the total amount of people that ride
the loop trolley.
The loop trolley in a year.
But I want to know, what are they the 8,000 people that use the loop trolley? What are they even using it for? What do you use the loop trolley for?
My guess is the majority of it are tourists.
That are like, oh, it's
like,
kitschy.
Oh, look,
it's cute.
There's a trolley. We can ride the trolley. Or maybe there's a few dozen people that ride it all the time.
Yeah, maybe they got like a pass or something like that. The loop trolley pass. They're like, yeah.
Annual membership.
Yeah, we bought it for $100. Golly.
Unlimited rides.
I just can't. It's got to be tourists.
Yeah, like there's somebody there that the one person that lives in the loop and works at the art museum or whatever that line.
Yeah, what is it?
That actually rides it to work or something whenever it's running. Like my guess is it's a very small amount of people that ride it a lot, and then tourists or
gotta be
visitors
tourists
that are seeing it and going, oh, we can take a little trolley ride. Yeah.
There's so much animosity towards the loop trolley.
That's still not happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to know the number of times that it runs, because I'd love to take how many times the trolley runs its route in a year and divide it by 8,000. Because that would tell you how many people are on each trip.
Yeah.
It's probably like 2.
Yeah. Legitimately. And how many people
every
does it
time
even hold?
the thing
20?
goes, I have no idea. Every time the thing goes, how many people are on it? 3?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Let's just
and
do
we're still
365.
Defending it.
Let's just do 365. That's not what
if it ran once a day.
Let's just say it ran once a day, and we said 8,000.
8,000 divided by
okay, here
365. Yeah, I would love to know. And it runs much more than that, because it runs multiple times a day whenever it is running.
Well,
because
then
the whole loop is only like a couple of minutes long.
20 people a day.
Yeah, if it ran
once every day. Yeah,
once a
day. Every day.
Which it runs.
Never.
It doesn't run every day, but when it does run, it runs a whole bunch of times.
Golly, what a mess. Yeah. And you know what? This is why I also want to know who goes on the loop trolley, because there's so much animosity towards the loop trolley that even if you liked it before, now it's just I hate you. Even I hate you. I don't like you. And what are you doing here? It's got to be someone with a clean slate with the loop trolley.
You broke the mirror on my car, and
I hate you.
Now I hate you.
Why are you here?
We don't have time to get into this, but I'm warning you that we're going to talk about this later in the week. What is the deal with Kim Kardashian's new bra line?
Skims?
With the fake nipple?
Oh, yeah. It's totally too far.
Is that weird?
It is the weirdest thing in the world. I thought people wear bras, women wear bras so that you don't see that.
This is bragging about calling attention to it, though.
I thought this was like a joke.
No.
It's real. It's a real thing.
It's real.
It is definitely not my brand. I'll tell you that. The whole situation, not my bag.
Like I said, we don't have time to get into it right now, but I'm glad to hear that, because no, not that it's not your brand, but I'm glad to hear, because I always thought that was something that was embarrassing or like
Totally.
something that you don't want people their attention drawn to.
She's taking it too far.
But she's bragging about, hey, this gives you that
what
pokey nipple look all the time, and that is supposed to be a good thing.
She's taking it too far. Skims was doing all right until I think this moment. I think she was doing okay with her brand up until this moment.
You think this hurt it?
Well, I think
usually
in some areas.
If Kim or somebody or one of the Kardashians comes out and touts something, usually that makes it go. That makes it.
I don't think this is going to
crazy.
fly in some states. Let's just say some people might not like.
Here's
that.
what I can promise: we will flush out this very important conversation as we go through another busy week here on Colombo and Katie. That's going to do it for us today. We will be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock. In the meantime, make sure you are subscribed to our podcast. We put the show out as a podcast shortly after we get off the air every day on basically every podcast platform. So whatever your favorite is, we are there. Just make sure you're subscribed to Colombo and Katie on your favorite podcast platform. Don't go anywhere. The O'Reilly Report is next, followed by the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show at 4, and then Larry Connors USA at 6. Thank you so much for listening to us and supporting us here at 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Where callers won't be canceled.
It's just so ridiculous and so offensive.
And we don't socially distance from differing opinions.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I haven't always